Think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. Throughout human history, as our species has faced the frightening, terrorizing fact that we do not know who we are or where we're going in this ocean of chaos, it has been the authorities, the political, the religious, the educational authorities who attempted to comfort us by giving us order, rules, regulations, forming in our minds their view of reality. To think for yourself, you must question authority and learn how to put yourself in a state of vulnerable, open-mindedness, chaotic, confused vulnerability to inform yourself. Think for yourself, question authority, think for yourself, question authority, think for yourself, question authority, think for yourself.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. How are you guys doing today? All right, that was quite a intro, right? Hope you guys are doing good. But yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome. I don't know if I can shout all you guys out here, but welcome to everyone. Lots of familiar faces, of course, in the chat. Appreciate you all coming out to this very special stream. So we have a ton of things to talk about, of course, with Switch 2. But yeah, welcome to all you familiar faces out there. Michael Parker, Tom, Awakeon, Solo Nippon, Newhouse, Oscar, Israel, 20 million subscribers with no videos. Nice. Project Sora, Sergeant Mario, everybody. Newhouse, I think I said. Yurixona. But yeah, anyway, so we have a gigantic leak with the Switch 2. And first of all, how excited are you guys for the Switch 2? Are you guys really excited for it? And if you don't understand quite all the specs and everything that were leaked, we'll discuss all that. We'll go over lots of cool stuff with DLSS versus FSR, especially the latest renditions of it. We'll talk about the past and the future, and the current, of course, the release time frame for the Switch 2, everything, right? And so, it's just a lot of really cool things going on right now with Nintendo. Obviously, they probably aren't that happy with the leak and everything like that happened, but it's pretty excuse me. It's pretty much, I don't know, it's not really confirmed, of course, but it's close to being confirmed, right? Because of various other websites besides the ones that actually leaked the images and all the specs have kind of corroborated the information, saying that it is pretty much legit. So I would say it's nothing's ever, of course, 100% in this world, but this is pretty close. So basically, there's just there's two pieces of information from these leaks that we don't know yet. And if we did know them, then we would know the exact specs, the exact teraflops and exact, performance and everything. But from what all the information we do know, we kind of have a ballpark range of what to expect from the Switch 2, and I think it's really exciting, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, we're gonna have a discussion about all the technical details first, and for all you guys who've never been to these streams before. Usually I do a discussion first on the information, and then we go over it afterwards together, and we do like a Q&A after we get all that stuff done. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Someone's saying something about a 2x speed. Yeah, it's just make sure you're watching at normal speed. Shadow Prince, what's up, buddy? Yeah. So let's get started here. So you're gonna find this stream really interesting. I guarantee it. I'm gonna share some stuff with you you probably haven't seen yet. So let's look at these leaks here. Let me switch over to my other screen here really quick. All right. But yeah, please hit that like button for me, guys, if you're excited about the Switch 2. It really helps out. Get as many likes as possible. Let's get it over 100. I'm not sure where we're on the likes so far. But yeah, let's get it over 100 likes, guys. Let's keep hitting that like button. But anyway, Switch 2 was leaked. And one of the reasons why I waited for a while or a few days, I didn't do like the quick I need to get your clicks video, because sometimes a lot of things happen where the information just isn't all clear yet. So, and then there's more stuff that comes out later, and then there's more leaks and so on and so forth. So really you need to just calm down and take it a little bit, one step at a time. But a lot of guys, of course, they're really excited for Switch 2. So, they're going to jump on there and try to, get as much attention to their own content as possible. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, I wanted to wait a little bit to get more information. Yeah, so factory leaks, prototypes, basically from a Chinese website leaked, and family boards and everything, and and Reddit. They have all the images. And one good reason why I waited too is because a lot of people were scared about getting their channels struck by Nintendo if they release these images, but a lot of them are basically mock-ups. There's a few legit images in there that were kind of, confirmed by the source as being the real thing. But these are not final. These are not final Switch 2 models. Pretty much, you're going to see things that are like kind of like in production prototype, kind of examples. Yeah. So basically, yeah, we'll go over all this in a second. So basically, we have here's a regular Switch Joy-Con right here, right? And like I said, you guys coming into the chat, we're going to get to your questions after I go over the information. So we're going to focus on this first. Here's a regular Nintendo Switch Joy-Con. Because some people couldn't really see much of a difference when you saw the leaked Switch 2 Joy-Cons. But there is some key differences here. So here is the mock-up image of what the legit Switch 2 Joy-Con would look like. And you see here on the screen, there's a difference in the connector here. So we had the information leak months ago about production, about having like magnetic strips basically on the Joy-Con in order for it to connect to the Switch 2. So yeah, if you see that there, here is the strips on the original. These have had a tendency to break after continued usage, going, like pulling it up and into the Switch original console. These would wear out over time and actually not even stay in your Switch. So these would look to fix that, right? And that's great news, I think. And I do think they look a little better, I would say. Very similar though, honestly, but there is some differences more that may seem to be a little bit more comfortable. And yeah, more slick. But yeah, you have that. And here's the interesting thing though, here is like the back of it. Because if you see like the regular Switch Joy-Con and even the Pro Controller, for example, I have the Pro Controller here. Pro Controller has these back buttons here, right? The triggers and the top L and R buttons, but they're just digital. They're digital buttons, right? So you just click on them, and that's it. They're not analog triggers. But if we look at, we don't know for a fact or anything. We don't know facts yet. But if you look at this right here, maybe that's some kind of analog small little trigger thing. You know, we don't know, because like the top part up here looks kind of similar to a regular Switch Joy-Con controller. It doesn't look like it gives you much analog movement, because if you look at a PS5 controller, I'll switch back here. Here's a PS5 controller. You see the analog triggers, they have a lot of movement here. You see that? So they move quite a bit to give you that friction to your movements, like in racing games or in first-person shooters. So this little nub here on this Joy-Con, maybe, we don't know, you know, we're speculating here, maybe, just maybe, this is something similar, because it has the same type of kind of like the length in between, right? The length, there's a give there. You can press down probably on that. Maybe that's something to use in a first-person shooter. We don't know. And we also don't know if the Switch 2 Pro controller that hasn't been announced yet for the new console is going to have something similar, maybe in a bigger form factor. So that's something interesting. Maybe, just maybe, we could get some more analog triggers or something like that. But someone's saying there that's just to release the Joy-Con. I don't know. Is that what people have decided? I don't know. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that's all it is. I would like it for to be something analog though, base, because it doesn't look like it's analog triggers on the back here. Nobody knows. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm just speculating here. If someone has confirmed what this is, then by all means, let me know in the chat. We're all trying to figure this stuff out as we go. So that's just my thought. That's what I would like it to be. But if it's not, that's fine. I actually do like the Switch Pro controller quite a bit. Even if it doesn't have analog triggers, it would be better to use it for GameCube games though. Logical to release the Joy-Con. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it would be great if it was. But yeah, so the actual size of the console appears to be bigger. Of course, you can tell that this is the old Switch, the kickstand and everything. These are just mock-up renders and everything. So I don't think anyone's gotten in trouble for you know, going over these images. So yeah, this does look like to be probably the 8-inch screen, you know, version that they were talking about. It does look quite a bit bigger here than the original Switch. Yeah, so you see what I mean here though? Like, we got this up here. So yeah, on here, this looks more triggery, right? This looks more, actually from this angle, it looks more like maybe there is analog triggers. We don't know, but like the way it looked on the other pictures, again, these are just renders. We don't know if these really are analog triggers or not. Because when you look at this right here, you see that the little crease down here, it doesn't look like there's much give as far as how far you can press down. And then you have these right here. I guess you would push those in and you release the Joy-Con, is my guess, to unlock it. But like I said, I would love it to have some type of analog triggers, right? But if that's not the case, so be it. But yeah, you know, so in comparison to the PlayStation 5, right? You just don't have you have a lot more give. You can see it right there. Like I was showing, you just got a lot more give there, right? See all that give? All the give right here you have. It's a lot of movement. So that's what I'm saying. This doesn't appear to have any of that right there. This little button would, but if it's just to unlock the Joy-Con, like I said, so be it. But yeah, you know, we'll know for sure, of course, when Nintendo reveals the console. So yeah, there's that. There's a front of it. This is the image that everyone's using. And again, you know, we don't really know how it's gonna feel to hold this thing, but it's nice to speculate, right? So you would think it'd be more comfortable than the original Switch. That was one of the complaints. It's a little bit less comfortable. But what I do like about the design of this, though, is that it looks like it to be a lot more form. You know, like the form of it seems to be more solid. Like it's more one solid form. Because the original Switch had, you know, there was like these breaks in the console that the Joy-Cons weren't really attached to the console as good as what these look to be. But yeah, it's it is what it is. And here's like the motherboard and everything that, but like nothing's intact. There's no chips or anything. It's all just like prototype, pretty much prototype silicon there. And here's this right here too. These look like this doesn't look like, you know, it has all the innards of the Joy-Con in there. It looks like it's almost like a shell, right? But yeah, so that is the Switch 2. Like I said, if this is something extra and cool, I would love it. But if it's just a unlocking mechanism, it's fine too. We'll have to wait and see. So, but yeah, it's likely 3D printed, or not 3D printed, 3D modeled from the artist who did it, based on. It says see renders right here, talking about how they, you know, they're not like the two like actual photos are the real thing, pretty much, and the other ones are basically renders. So, like they're not fake, but they're depicting what the real system could look like, right? All right. Yeah, we'll get to the power here. I wouldn't be too worried about the power of this console just yet, guys. Because there's some very interesting information here that we'll go over. So first of all, about the specs of the Switch 2, you got to think about where we're coming from here from the Switch 1. So the Switch 1, you know, guys who've been following my channel since 2016 when the old NX thing happened. Many people thought that I was just an NVIDIA hater because I didn't really like the specs that Nintendo had for the Switch 1. I was wanting something else. But it wasn't just because of the lack of performance of the Tegra X1 for Nintendo's next console. The reason why I had an issue, some of the reasons why I had an issue with the Tegra X1 back in the day, was because it was just a stock chip that they were using for the system. And, you know, like I said, hindsight's 2020, it was the best deal they could come up with at the time, and it worked out great for them, no doubt. But as far as like performance was concerned, heat levels and things like that, it was not a very good performing chip in that sense, because they had to downclock it so much to get it to run properly for Nintendo's games to work in handheld mode without it destroying battery life. So the issue the Tegra X1 had back in the day, not only the power consumption and heat dissipation, but also it was extremely hackable. It was a hackable chip, which, as you guys know, the Switch has been hacked to death, and it was hacked within the first year of its release. And I knew that was going to happen based on the Tegra X1's vulnerabilities that were revealed in 2015 before Nintendo even agreed to use that chip for the Switch. So there's a lot of issues with them using that chip. So for this time around, they have a major opportunity to have something that is customized and basically a lot newer, obviously, and will give them a huge advantage against Sony and Microsoft, surprise, surprise, with their upscaling. And some people may not think that it's that big of a deal, but I'm going to show you a little bit later how huge of a difference it is, and so look forward to that. But I'm going to show you a live demo. I'm going to demonstrate to you just how gigantic a difference it is for Nintendo to have DLSS over FSR, basically. And the cool thing about NVIDIA chips too is that they do have the option to use FSR if need be. But it's like one of those things, once you go with DLSS, there's no going back, guys. Like, seriously, you would never want to use anything else if you have the option. It is by far the best technique to use for upscaling. And Nintendo, using that, along with they have their patented upscaling techniques as well that we have here. That they could be using on top of that. So, and yes, you can actually use multiple upscaling techniques for your graphics. They've already been doing it with PlayStation 5. They've been using FSR 2 and FSR 3 in combination with TAA, which is another lower, a lower performance kind of upscaling technique that you can upscale from higher resolutions to 4K easier. It doesn't cost too much performance to use. So yes, you can use multiple upscaling techniques and multiple different things like FSR 3 plus DLSS in combination these days. Okay, so like, very interesting. That's a very interesting point as well that we'll talk about, is that you can use DLSS and FSR 3 frame generation combined on an NVIDIA graphics card. Okay, which means it's almost like a cheat, so to speak, that Nintendo could get away with without them even actually using a Lovelace based Switch 2 GPU for the Switch 2. They could be using a customized Ampere, which would be an RTX 3000 series leveled GPU, which is fantastic, by the way. They are still extremely relevant, very good. Like I just upgraded to a RTX 4090, I think last year, from a 3080 Ti, and it's a fantastic graphics card. So there's lots of interesting things about that that we can talk about as we go on. But anyway, the leaks here. So the console and the Joy-Cons and the dock, they all have a part number. And the configuration, the SoCL, I think that stands for System on Chip Lab. That's also just known as System on Chip. If you look that up, sometimes people call that, when a chip is being developed, they call it an SoCL. But yeah, CPU and GPU, GMLX30-R-A1. Obviously, this is going to be some type of customized NVIDIA chip that they're using, and from all the previous leaks, the biggest thing that we need to find out about this SoC, guys, and the most important thing, is that did Nintendo in fact go with Samsung's 4nm process, or even smaller 3nm? We don't know, but Samsung and NVIDIA have been doing 4nm, and to use for their Lovelace GPUs. So Ampere was 8nm back in 2020, and then they went on to 4nm for Lovelace, which allows them to clock higher and to add more CUDA cores, basically add more performance, better ray tracing, better power consumption for the NVIDIA RTX 4000 series. So the cool thing about Ampere versus Lovelace is that there isn't that much of a difference between Ampere and Ada Lovelace. And yes, you would love Nintendo to have the latest and greatest, of course, but this is NVIDIA we're talking about, right? These guys charge a lot of money to their partners. So them actually having, they're not going to have Blackwell. Blackwell's not was delayed basically for their internal graphics cards already. So you can't really be expecting that latest and greatest. Thank you, the Memphis, for a $5 super chat. XNZ YouTube channel had the CAD files before they leaked, and she printed them off and compared it side by side. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for the super chat too. Yeah. And remember too, we'll be doing Q&A after we're done examining the information. So yeah, before, NVIDIA likes to hype up their, Jensen Wang, he is the master at, advertising his own products as the bleeding edge of most amazing. It's going to blow your mind, all that kind of stuff. Right. So, of course, he's going to say that Lovelace is like the best thing since sliced bread. I'm not saying it's not great. I have a Lovelace GPU. I have the RTX 4090. It's the best GPU in the world, hands down. I love it. But the differences between Ampere, which is what very, very, very likely that Switch 2 is using, which is the RTX 3000, there's very little differences between Ampere and Lovelace. Now, it's obviously Lovelace has an all-new process node, like I said, 4 nanometer instead of 8 nanometers. And better shader execution and recording. That's, something that, you won't really notice much there. DLSS 3.0, which allows for frame generation. But like I said, guys, you can do frame generation on the 3000 series with FSR 3 now, because you don't need to have a Lovelace GPU for frame generation. You can do it on Ampere with AMD's version, because AMD made it available for everyone to use. So this is kind of a moot thing, having DLSS 3.0, because the image quality upscaling is the same, and it's the same between Ampere and Lovelace for the image upscaling quality. The only thing missing is the frame generation. Okay, so tensor cores. Yeah, you can use frame generation on your 3080 Ti as long as the game supports it. It's up to the developer to add frame generation from FSR 3, and you can use it in combination with DLSS if they allow you to. So that's what I'm saying. You can get away with using it if you develop it to use it in your game, which is why I'm saying they don't necessarily need to have a Lovelace GPU. They can get very similar performance or for what they need for a handheld without using Lovelace. Not saying that not saying they won't necessarily use it per se. I just don't think they would need to spend more money for it, and you'll see why when we're talking about it here right now. So tensor cores, they added more AI computing tensor cores to Lovelace versus Ampere. Again, do they really need tensor cores for Switch 2? Because they're making this very much AI focused for Lovelace. They wanted to increase the AI abilities for it. The deep learning abilities are not really increased the performance of DLSS. It's the same quality between Ampere and Lovelace. We didn't see much, but of course, it has more tensor cores. Every generation is going to increase their cores. Improved power and efficiency. Again, that's due to the shrinking of the die of the chip down to 4 nanometers instead of 8 nanometers. So, and that's really it. Those are all the differences. So it's very, very similar to Ampere. And those were a huge step up. Ampere was the 3000 series from the 2000 series. The RTX 2000 series was basically just a souped up 1080 Ti version. You know what I mean? Like they went from Turing, right? To Pascal to Turing. The Switch uses Maxwell, so Maxwell, Pascal, Turing, and then Ampere, and then now Lovelace, and then they're going to go on to Blackwell. So My expectation personally is that Nintendo is going to be using a customized Ampere based GPU or part of the SoC for Switch 2, along with a 8-core ARM-based CPU, all on one SoC. Don't have much information on the ARM CPU, but I did a video a few months back covering that, and it does look like we could get pretty good performance with an 8-core ARM CPU due to the recent breakthroughs in technology they have with offloading the core performance, using them in parallel and things like that. So ARM is not as limited as it used to be. Basically, it's a lot more efficient, and they're able to use the cores a lot better versus what they used to having them only able to do one operation at a time. They could do multiple operations now simultaneously a lot better. So yeah, I think basically Ampere based, customized to like a 4-nanometer process would be pretty much what Lovelace is trying to do. And then they would have less, of course, tensor cores to keep the cost down. So that's where you would have the combination of Lovelace and Ampere onto one SoC. You would have the power efficiency of Lovelace and the performance of Ampere on the Switch 2. That is my theory, at least. But that also lines up with what the rumors and leaks have said as well, which is very good. So the question is, though, how are you going to be able to run the newest games on this handheld, and what are the specs going to be, right? How can you run brand new games on a handheld? Well, they have things like the Legion X, the Legion Go and the ROG Ally X, and those are actually based on Ryzen Zen processors, and they are RDNA 3, the latest from AMD for their mobile graphics, and those are better than the Steam Deck. They cost more money, but like that, you can get a Legion Go. If Chariot Man Gaming's in there, he'll know. He's an expert on that. But yeah, you can get a Legion Go for $699. And you're like, whoa, $699 is a lot of money. But the Legion Go, these are portable PCs, right? They don't have customized SoCs that are bought in bulk. They're not consoles. They're not getting their parts sold by the 10 million chips at a time. So Nintendo goes to these companies, like Nvidia, for example, and said, hey, we need to purchase 20 million SoCs for the launch of our Switch 2 or in the first year, or 15 million, or whatever they need to do, right? So they buy these chips in bulk, and then Nvidia or Samsung would give them a price of what they need to pay per wafer. And when I say wafer, it's kind of like a big honeycomb. They put all these chips, in a slab basically, and they make all of them at the same time in like a honeycomb of chips, and they cut out parts of it, and they make each part becomes an SoC pretty much. That's how they do like chip manufacturing. That's like the real quick explanation for it. You can look it up how they design these chips. They buy them by the wafer, right? So like each wafer can produce you like 100 SoCs basically. So they'll charge you a lot less money buying them that way than it would be from trying to make one chip at a time and buying them one at a time to put them into your console. So for like the Legion Go and like the ROG Ally, they're putting these chips, they're buying these chips outright from AMD and like putting them into these portable PCs because they're already designed that way. They're APUs. It's not like Nintendo where you have to buy them and being mass produced by the millions. It's not like that at all. You get a much lower cost, just like what PlayStation doing the PS5 Pro, guys. There's been a lot of comparisons out there. Hey, you can make a PC, just like it, for the same price, and which is not true. You have to spend more money, and that's the key reason why you got to spend more money to build a PC that's with the same parts, is because you, the consumer, and also the people selling these parts, they're not making them for the by the millions like PlayStation is, and they're not designing them in that way either. They're all being put separately to make these portable PCs like the ROG Ally and Legion Go. So yes, those portable PCs are always going to be more expensive. Plus, these also have SSDs built inside, like M.2s. The Switch 2 is not going to have that. It's going to have what cell phones have these days, which in the last few years at least. And we talked about this. I first talked about this in 2019 about Nintendo possibly using a UFS storage in their new Switch. So UFS 3.1, this is basically that it's about 2 gigabytes per second, and we talked about this, is that it's not as fast as a PlayStation 5, but it's similar to an Xbox Series S. So an Xbox Series S, your read speeds are just over 2 gigabytes per second. This would be fantastic for Nintendo to use, and I've agreed with this actually in the past as well. This would be exactly what Nintendo should be using for the cost and also the storage. But again, I brought this up on Twitter. 256 gigabytes is not that much. It's going to run out very fast. But if there is something that can get them into into your hands quickly, as far as the price is concerned, this is what probably they're going to do to save the cost. This probably does not cost that much for them to put 256 gigabytes into the Switch 2. You're going to have to buy obviously expanded storage pretty quickly. But yet again, guys, we don't know exactly what their cartridge solution is. If they have better cartridges, like if they have 64 gigabytes of cartridge, storage that they're selling you these new games on, you may not even need to run games off of the hard drive too much if you're having them all run off the cartridge. We just don't know yet, right? So that's something we need to wait and see. But I do think storage, obviously, it usually always is a problem for Nintendo. It's been that way since the Wii. So storage has always been a limiting factor for Nintendo consoles, and this would be no exception. This would be the exact same thing of what they have always done. You would love to have 512 gigabytes or 1 terabyte, but probably to keep the cost to be $400 instead of $500, you're going to get most likely a 256 gigabyte internal storage with UFS and not an M.2, which would also cut the cost down. So yeah, 2100 megabytes per second and 2.1 gigabytes speed. So I think that's a good idea. Obviously, you don't want to be spending. Since N64, yeah. But I just mean internal storage. Those consoles didn't really have any storage internally. But yeah, I think that's a good idea to get people to get your foot in the door, to get you to buy the console. $399 in 2025. That's pretty close to mass market price, I would say, due to the current market conditions that we live in, guys. Audio chip, I don't really think this is NFC reader, built-in microphone, dual cooling fans. Not too big information there. Obviously, this is going to be putting out more heat, so it's going to need more cooling. So that's fine. Copper gaming heatsink, that's a good idea. I believe the PlayStation 5 does have a copper heatsink inside of it. At least the original model, which I have. I think that's a good idea to keep the heat low. Now, this pretty much confirms right here HDMI 2.1. This confirms not only will Switch 2 be capable of doing 4K 60 frames, but HDMI 2.1 means that Switch 2 will be capable of doing 4K 120 frames per second and 8K 60 frames. Not that we're going to do 8K, but HDMI 2.1 has the ability to go all the way up to 8K at 60 frames, and it's 4K 120 frames per second. So will there be VRR support, variable refresh rate support on Switch 2? We don't know, but HDMI 2.1 does allow them to do that if they so wish to. So DisplayPort to HDMI. So yeah, this is actually a really good indicator that this Switch 2 is going to be 4K compatible as far as what your output's concerned. Rendering resolution, that's a whole nother ball game. But yeah, VRR is really popular these days. So I do hope that at the very least that they have VRR. So, but obviously, if you're outputting the 4K and you're a 4K television, it's going to be 4K 60 compatible. Not to say the games will run at 4K 60, but it'll do your TV will output it at 4K. And I hope you guys understand what the difference is between output 4K and rendering at 4K. That's two very different things, right? So, the Switch, for example, is 1080p. You plug it into your 4K TV, it still outputs at 1080p. Your TV will just display it that way. The Switch 2 will output at 4K in your TV, but the internal rendering resolution of your games will vary from game to game. It will definitely most likely not be 4K because you can't even do native 4K in games today still. And we're in 2020, almost 2025 now. So no, I can almost guarantee you will have almost no new games that render at 4K unless they're like indie games or something very basic. You know, I'm sure the Switch 2 will be able to render some games at 4K, but be very, very little. But again, we'll get into the tricks they can do, and the tricks they can do with DLSS is really, really good. So I'll show you that in just a second. So yeah, network chip, microcontroller chip, protective case, speakers, Musebox L, Musebox R, 2-channel stereo. Yeah. So this is about what we're expecting. Let's go back up here to the memory. This is really, really important. This might be one of the most important parts right here, guys. LPDDR5X, and I've been preaching LPDDR5 and X for the last few years now. Like they really need this type of memory because especially these 7500 MTs, mega transfers per second, they really need that. Memory has been a huge limiting factor for the Switch 1. Switch 1 only has 4 gigabytes total of LPDDR4 and not even 4X or 5, nothing. It's so slow. Games have really suffered over the years from its limited memory on the Switch 1. So LPDDR5X at 7500 MTs is great news. We've been talking about Xbox Series S. That console was memory limited. It only has 8 gigabytes available for games, but beyond that, it's even it's just bottlenecked so badly because it has 2 different types of memories in it, and one of them is clocked higher, one of them clocked slower, and it's been a really rough ride for developers to use that console because of the memory constraints. This is great news. I'm not, blowing smoke here. This is great news. So 12 gigabytes, two dual channel 6 gigabyte sticks basically of LPDDR5X is fantastic. It's going to really help them load the VRAM faster. If you're wondering, LPDDR5X versus LPDDR5, it's about 30% faster memory, and it has less power consumption than LPDDR5 does. So LPDDR5X is A+. That's fantastic. You should be happy with that, guys. So yeah, and even if it's had lower overall bandwidth than the Xbox Series S, it has more memory to use. So there's little things they can do to adjust how the memory communicates with their games in development, and that's on Nintendo to provide the right development resources for developers to make the best use out of this memory. But for sure, more of it is better than having less of it, right? I mean, that's obvious, but this is the best, pretty much the best variant of LPDDR5X that you can have. They do have a slower version of this as well, but this is pretty much the best one. So I personally am extremely happy with this. I wouldn't ask for anything more than this from Nintendo. Of course, you would love to have maybe 16 gigabytes overall for a system memory, but 12 will be plenty, because you would have around 1.5 gigabytes or 2 gigabytes most dedicated to the OS, and then you have at least 10 to 10.5 gigabytes of VRAM dedicated just to your games. Hey man, that's fantastic. But yeah, so like now we'll get to the real interesting part though. And this is going to be fun. So let me go back here to this. Let me go back here to this scene real quick. Let me get this set up. I'm going to show you something. So while I'm preparing this here. So basically the question has been, how can Nintendo, get these games to run on a Switch 2? How can you get new games to run on a Switch 2, right? It's just like it seems really difficult. People think about PlayStation 4 level of graphics maybe, and the PlayStation 4 is just about put the pasture. Well, what is Nintendo going to do to get new games to run on there? Here, let me show you something. All right, so here's Final Fantasy 16 on PC. It just came out a couple days ago, and you're just saying, "Well, why are you showing me this? This isn't going to be on Switch 2." Well, it might be on Switch 2. Remember, Square Enix announced that they'll be porting these games, Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Final Fantasy 16. They want to port these games out to other systems because of the sales, right? Now, here's the thing. The reason why I'm showing you this game is because this game is very demanding on PC, but you can look this up on YouTube. There's videos that just released a couple days ago. People have this game running on the Legion Go and the ROG Ally and on Steam Deck. Steam Deck not so good, but there's driver problems for the Steam Deck port of this game. But you can get this game running on Legion Go and the ROG Ally at over 60 frames per second on the low settings, at about 800p or so. And that's with frame generation, okay? And like without frame generation, they're getting like 35 to 40 frames per second on those handhelds, which is not bad. The problem is though, and this is where the Switch 2 using something Ampere based with some Lovelace features is going to be totally heads and shoulders better than those handhelds, and in terms of what they can get away with the image quality. Okay, so what you're seeing here is Final Fantasy 16 on my PC running at maximum settings. So yeah, let me show you real quick. So yeah, we're using DLSS 3 with quality. We got everything maxed out. Everything is looking great, of course, and I'm running at 4K. Okay. This is so funny. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. It's just an example. All right, so for the handhelds, obviously it's going to look pretty bad up close. I'm gonna give you an example though. So on the Legion Go, they're running this at this is my PC. I got a 4090. They're running it at 720p. And they're using what I saw a guy use was FSR3 balance mode, and on the low settings. Now, before you freak out and say, "Oh my gosh, this looks like the worst thing in the whole world," just hold on. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Can I get the yeah? Let me put the preset to low, FSR3. Okay, upscaling, dynamic resolution off, balance mode. So here we go. FSR3 balance mode at 720p, which I think that's like it's like 540p or something like that. Balance mode. No, I think it's like 360p resolution. Really bad, right? All right. Yeah. So this looks terrible. The problem with FSR3 is that it's over sharpened. AMD has a problem with sharpening their image. Now, let me show you this right here. All right, so I have it set up where I can zoom in. So the reason why I'm zooming in, guys, because some of you are looking on a cell phone. Now, if you have a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or a Legion Go, you're used to seeing games look like this when you blow them up because they're rendering them at such a low resolution on a small portable screen, okay? Like I said, don't freak out. This is not actually what the Switch 2 versions would look like. I'm giving you an example of what it looks like on a Steam Deck or a Legion Go using FSR3 balanced mode, okay? So you can notice here that there's all kinds of image breakup and distortion and fizzle all over our buddy Clive here. Clive looks like he's been run through, the grinder a little bit here in his face. Poor guy. So, yeah, this looks really bad up close. Okay, image breakup all over the place. But to be honest with you, like on a handheld, I mean, it doesn't look too terrible at a distance. Up close, it looks awful. But on a tiny little screen, it doesn't look too terrible. Okay. Now, that's at 720p. Okay, so here's the thing. We'll keep the exact same settings up close. You can see how bad that looks. It's all jaggedy and everything. We'll keep the exact same settings. This is a fantastic example, guys, of why DLSS destroys, and it's not even close, absolutely destroys everything else. I'll show you. Now, we'll keep it on balanced, right? The exact same rendering resolution by 360p or so. But we'll turn it to NVIDIA DLSS balance mode. Same render resolution. Look at that. Like, look. This is the same render resolution. Yeah, it still has jaggies and everything, but like we're still zoomed in and the image breakup is pretty much gone. So, and this is at 360p or so zoomed in, and you're getting a way better image here. FSR3 looks like complete garbage in comparison. And you're seeing it for yourself here. Now, so, and zoomed out, hey man, this actually looks like a game again. Our buddy Clive here, he's looking like Clive again. He's not looking like he's been, run through the meat grinder. He actually looks like himself now. Yes, it doesn't look great, but this is rendering at 360p or so from a 720p output, okay? So now here's the cool thing. So we're not done yet though. Here's the cool thing about Switch 2 is that as long as the rumors are correct and it's an 8-inch screen and it's 1080p output on your portable screen, here's what in actuality, here's what in actuality you may be getting if this game is ported to the Switch 2. You would be getting a 1080p output, and then you would actually turn. I'll give it a second to adjust. You would actually turn DLSS possibly to performance mode, which would be about 540p internal resolution. All right. So now we got 1080p at performance mode, and hey, this actually starting to look pretty decent now. Like, to be honest with you, let's zoom in though, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, and this is on the lowest setting preset of the game. So now you have next to no image breakup, and the game is rendering at 540p. Now again, I can show you the difference real quick with FSR 3 at performance mode, and yet again, here you go. Image breakup, fizzle, instability. It looks better at 1080p for sure, but like if you're looking close at Clive here, his body, everything that he has, like an aura around him, is over sharpened. They're trying to overcompensate for such a low resolution, and it makes it just look really like crunchy. You can see like this distortion around his body when he moves. It just looks awful in comparison. Okay, so let's zoom back out again. What we'll do is, and we'll actually change this now to back to DLSS. Keep it on performance. And now, say we, well, yeah, frame rate. We don't want to look at frame rate right now. It may be 30, it may be whatever variable, but this will be an NVIDIA based Switch too. And let's be honest, NVIDIA GPUs give you a lot more performance. Not a lot more, but they give you more performance than AMD GPUs at this time. And you might be able to get 60 frames from this game on low settings on Switch 2, especially if they're using frame generation from FSR 3. So let's bump this up to 1440p. Okay. All right. So 1440p, DLSS performance mode. So 1440p, this would be like your docked mode. So 1440p DLSS performance would be a rendering resolution of 720p. Now I'm playing this on my 4K monitor, and this looks actually pretty decent. Like, this is actually something that you could be okay with. Yeah, it doesn't look as sharp or clear as 4K would with DLSS quality, but DLSS is just a really much better renderer for upscaling than FSR is, because it's actually using the tensor cores, the AI upscaling of the GPU to render the scene separately from just using rasterization from its GPU. It's actually using the AI to do it. So it's impossible at this point for FSR 3 to look anywhere near as good, or Intel's upscaling solution to look anywhere near as good as DLSS. And even PlayStation 5 Pro, they're using PSSR, which is heavily rumored to be based on AMD's next RDNA 4, which does use AI upscaling. Digital Foundry also says from their impressions that it's noticeable that PSSR, even on PlayStation 5 Pro, is not as good as DLSS is. So isn't that funny? Nintendo has the opportunity to still have the best cutting edge upscaling technology on their Switch 2, better than anybody else when it's released, just because NVIDIA, let's be honest, they just make the best stuff. Regardless of how terrible they are with their business practices and overcharging their customers, which they factually do. I can't stand that about them. and them having basically a monopoly, it's hard to argue with the results. And the results is that they are the best at GPUs and on upscaling. So yeah, this looks fantastic, right? So this could be a theoretical, minus the frame rate. We don't know if they'll have like a lock 30 or something like that. We don't know exactly what the frame rate would be on a Switch 2 port, but it's factually possible. I'm not even kidding you either. It's factually possible to port this game to Switch 2 because it's already running on other portables. Okay. And yeah, this is on the lowest setting. Okay. And I don't even need to show you what medium looks like. I can just put it back to ultra, the highest setting, and quality, and I'll put it back to 4K. I'll show you. What they could do, and here it is at 4K. Like it still looks, it looks better. What they would likely do, as you see here, there's some bloom stuff here. What they would likely do for a Switch port is they would have a customized settings thing where, just like what they did with other ports, they probably would have everything set to low, but they would add certain things like screen space reflections and the bloom lighting here. Because like the bloom does add some sparkle to Clive's sword when he runs around, you know what I mean, and the environment too. So things like that, I can definitely see them doing. But yeah, and there's no ray tracing in Final Fantasy 16. But that's another subject though, is that I've talked about it before. I wouldn't be expecting any ray not any. I wouldn't be expecting too much ray tracing from third-party ports for Switch 2 games. Okay. And the reason why is because you look at Xbox Series S, and do you know of any do you know of any games that use ray tracing to great effect on Xbox Series S? The answer is no, right? And they usually have those settings turned off because the system just doesn't have enough resources to run it. But the cool thing though is that let me exit out of here really quick. I hope you enjoyed that demo. The cool thing though is that the Xbox Series S and the Switch 2 and the like the ROG Ally and even Steam Deck for the most part still, they all are able to run most of the new games, and they still look like the new games out there, which means that you're not getting some kind of extremely compromised experience when you see those games. So yeah, so that I'm running this in the background here. Like Unreal Engine 5, it's already been confirmed. We know that it's going to run on Switch 2. It runs on Switch 1 with Fortnite. But so really, it's like the main issue that the Switch 1 always has had with ports is that you were getting games that were so compromised in their graphics that you weren't even seeing the same game in a lot of cases. You were getting lots of the game cut off, like chopped up. So they are running new games like Final Fantasy 16 on these portables, like I mentioned, at low settings, but it's still the same game. You're not getting a bunch of things missing from the experience. You're getting the same experience with lower frame rates, lower resolution. None of these portables, though, can do DLSS, and that is a factual game changer for Nintendo, as you saw right there in that example. The system can do basically very low resolutions and make them look presentable on your portable screen, like meaning like you're not going to be distracted by lots of like flicker and the whole like artifacting around the characters. You're not going to be dealing with that kind of stuff because DLSS is so good that it can actually up-res these images with AI upscaling to a point that they look good to the eye, like good enough, right? That's the main thing that people want, is that they want games that look good enough to run on the Switch 2 so they can enjoy them. You don't want to be distracted by all kinds of terrible looking, smeary images, missing graphics, choppy frame rates. You want to have things look good and presentable at, yes, lower resolutions, but hey man, there is no console that does DLSS. None. This would be the first one in history. So that is a huge advantage for Nintendo. And I showed you on Final Fantasy 16 running at 360p on DLSS balance mode, upscale to 720p, and then that would again upscale again to 1080p with whatever else Nintendo wants to use if they went that low to Switch 2's 1080p portable screen, and you would have a good looking game on the go. You would not notice that it's running at a lower resolution because of the AI upscaling is so good. So do you guys understand what I'm saying? That's why it's so exciting. It's exciting because you're going to be seeing something from Nintendo that you've never seen before, and you're going to be getting an upgrade that is going to be it's looking like it's going to be around 4 teraflops docked, as long as the clock speeds are just right there, around 4 teraflops docked and around 2 teraflops portable, which would be just around PS4 level portable. But with DLSS and all the latest technology that NVIDIA is using, you're going to be running all the new games at respectable settings. And we talked about Metroid Prime 4. What was it in my last video? Yeah, in my last video we talked about Metroid Prime 4 is looks like Retro Studios is using ray tracing in their development for Metroid Prime 4. I mean, I'm not making that up or anything. They're factually using programs that are used for ray tracing. Use VLC. I wanted to, but what I'm doing is I'm streaming. I'm actually streaming my content from a different PC. So for some reason, it's making me use Windows Media Player. So don't judge me, Tom. But to stream from a different PC, the content, I'm streaming this to my gaming PC from my content creating PC. So it is what it is. So yeah, basically all those renderers are in fact used for lighting, for ray tracing. Yes, they're used for other programs as well, but the Retro Studios was hiring for a lighting, a guy that specializes in lighting. So if you're doing that and you're using these programs that all specialize in ray tracing, and they all require an NVIDIA graphics card, I'm not saying it's confirmed, but there's a high probability, I would say, that Metroid Prime 4, a Nintendo first-party game, would use possibly ray trace reflections on certain objects, not like a big smattering of ray tracing or anything like that, but possibly ray trace shadows, something that might enhance the lighting. I could see them using that for Switch 2, and the reason is because you're talking about a system that is being developed by being used by Retro Studios to get the most out of the system. Like you saw Metroid Prime Remastered, right? You know that game is the best looking game on Switch 1, and of course Metroid Prime 4 is the best looking game on Switch 1 that hasn't been released yet. I think I have a video of that right here. Yeah. So that is the one thing that we talked about with Metroid Prime, is that Metroid Prime 4 at least, is that the couple things that are missing in the Switch 1 version could be likely easily added to a Switch 2 version, because they wouldn't necessarily be upgrading a lot of the models. The biggest thing in modern gaming, guys, and I'm sure you would agree, lighting effects are like the biggest noticeable difference between last gen and current gen. So yes, the game looks fantastic as it is right now, but you know, you're seeing stuff here, even in this trailer. You know, it's got some nice pre-baked lighting. It's completely missing, like, you know, like shadows that would normally be there, and they could easily up-res this to, like, you know, 1440p, and they could likely easily add things like ray tracing to this if they're using the same assets, just upscaled or up-res for the Switch 2 version. Because remember, if it's 4 teraflops or so docked versus 400 gigaflops docked for this is running on Switch 1. You're talking about a 10 times performance increase for Switch 2 while docked, okay? I remember I talked about this before. It's the likelihood of this Switch 2, people were asking, like, what's the power range going to be? I said at least 7.5 to like 10 times range more powerful is what it's looking like to be actually realistic for Switch 2. To imagine a 10 times more powerful, 7.5 to 10 times more powerful console running this game, yeah, of course you could have effects like, you know, some ray tracing and some screen space reflections, things like that added to this game. Of course you could, because it's running something that's based to run on the Switch 1. So when you put it in that frame of mind, guys, it's not going to be impossible for Switch 2 to have first-party games that are designed from the ground up or even ported as cross-gen from Switch 1 to run on Switch 2 that have that impressive, you know, those impressive looking graphics. So it's really going to be the third-party games, that third-party developers who design these games for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Those are the games that are very likely not going to have ray tracing in them and things like that. They will basically have like lower settings and have them running at decent frame rates. But like I said, you would not be getting that specialized experience where they're putting things like ray tracing in those games. If they do, I'll be happy, of course, but I just don't see it being realistically possible, just because of the resources the developers have. When they're developing these games to run on other consoles, they're developing things with other technologies in mind, other systems in mind. But when you're developing something just for the Switch 2, like Metroid Prime 4 is made for Switch 1, likely they got, like I said, the Switch 2 port coming. That's when you're going to see the big difference for Nintendo first-party games, and I think Metroid Prime 4 is the primed example. That's going to be what they're going to be showing for Switch 2. That, of course, and a new Mario game. Okay? So, yeah, and recently Digital Foundry did an example of, what was it? Hunt Showdown? And like, the issues that Xbox Series S has with upscaling is very, very apparent, because it's losing detail in its graphics because it's having to upscale from such lower resolutions like 720p and stuff. You're losing like detail in the background. You're losing like the fine details because FSR just isn't good enough to render it. And you know, with the example I showed you, DLSS factually is visually noticeably better at lower resolutions, by far a metric ton better than FSR 3. Okay? So I think it's very, very okay and safe to be excited for Switch 2. Mainly for the possibilities of having your games all basically run on a portable system. So like all the ports pretty much. I don't see why you wouldn't get all the ports from other consoles, minus things like ray tracing. I think those would be turned off. But developers can simply port over their DLSS algorithms and their settings from PC even over to the Switch 2 version because the Switch 2 would have DLSS. So like these low presets and like DLSS, you can get games docked likely to run at 1440p, upscaling from 720p. I don't think it's that much. I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem for that. It's when you're using consoles like the Xbox Series S that are trying to upscale from like 540p and 720p to 1440p from using FSR. That's when it starts looking muddy on that console. And then you have the RAM issue for Xbox Series S. It only has about 8 gigabytes to use. Switch 2 will have at least 10 gigabytes to use of memory for graphics, maybe 10.5 gigabytes, depending on what they use for the OS. And you'll have, for a Nintendo fan, if you're coming from Switch 1, you're going to be blown away by Switch 2 coming. This is going to be like it's going to probably feel like a SNES to N64 graphical leap in terms of like transforming, like transformative leap, because you're getting something that is going to be doing so much more graphically that you're just be like, wow, I can't believe a Nintendo console's doing this. Is it as powerful as PS5 and Xbox Series X? Absolutely not. But it doesn't have to be, because it literally has secret sauce in it that the other consoles can't do, which gives it a distinct advantage. So yeah, I'm really excited. But yeah, let's see. There's a little bit more I wanted to share too. Let's go back. There was also the one thing I want to talk about real quick before we get into Q&A is that there is lots of rumors, and just be careful out there for stuff like this. Especially for like these YouTube channels who that just want to talk about Switch 2 every single day about something with Switch 2. This is the kind of stuff you got to watch out for. This is fake. Okay, so somebody posted this on Twitter saying, "Oh, first look of Switch 2 is happening on October 10th," and this was already pretty much confirmed fake. But it's one of those things that what's going to happen is that over the next few weeks or however long it takes for Nintendo to finally reveal Switch 2, you're going to be seeing this kind of stuff pretty much every single day. So just be careful out there. Like we said very, very clearly in the intro here, you got to think for yourself and question the authorities that try to give you information, because if you don't do your own research on stuff, you're going to get tricked. You're going to fall for a lot of clickbait, a lot of people trying to tell you stuff that may seem true, but is 100% fake. So yeah, just be careful out there. Do your due diligence and do your own research if you have to. I can't do everything for you guys, but all I can do is warn you that this kind of stuff can happen, and it will happen until Nintendo simply just reveals the console. What I'm trying to do is just tell you the best that I can with as much real proof and information, and showing you examples visually, showing you comparisons to other systems that do the same thing, like these handhelds. Just with worse technology that these handhelds have. They actually have worse technology than what Switch 2 will have. So you're looking at it's good stuff. Like I'm not making this up. I'm excited for Switch 2. I'm not just saying that because I want your click or something. No, I'm legit excited for this console, and I'm gonna buy it day one. And it's never been about me preferring one GPU company or another over another. It's always been about I want the best for Nintendo. So I think this is actually an awesome news for Nintendo, and I'm extremely excited for what they're gonna show. I've heard good things too. That's all I'll say. I don't think we have anything to worry about with this system. I think it's going to be really good, guys. All right. So, sorry I've been ignoring you a bit in the chat there. You guys have been talking a lot. So let's get to some Q&A before I go. How are we doing on our like buttons here? Nice. All right, let's get the like. Can we get the likes to over 200 while we're still live? We got over 300 people watching. Let's get the likes over 200 while we go. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the information I want to talk about. But let's do some Q&A. If you guys want to tag me, just do at SuperMetalDay64. Tag me in the chat with a question, and I'll try to answer you. Okay. Newhouse Estates, what are your thoughts on Intel dropping hyper-threading? I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I guess we'll have to wait and see what their new CPUs do. I'm not going to be buying Intel for theirs. That's one thing I talked about. Like I am a big fan of AMD for their CPUs. I think their CPUs are fantastic. It's their GPUs that have been really dropping the ball. I will not be purchasing any Intel CPUs anytime soon because, especially since recently they've had those faulty issues with their CPUs. So maybe it's a good move for them to drop hyper-threading. We'll have to wait and see. I don't see why Nintendo would bother making a new Switch that wasn't at least Series S level. Yeah, Steven. That's the thing too. People think that Series S is like so hard to match. It's not. It's based on early 2020 technology, if not earlier, 2019-ish, when RDNA came out, RDNA 2 came out. You're talking about technology that's already 5 years old by the time Switch 2 comes out. It's very limited in RAM. Yeah, the Xbox Series S is not that impressive, to be honest with you. To be, it's held back the generation enough that it's given Nintendo an in to join next generation. And the funny thing with that, here's the funny thing, guys, is that PlayStation 5 Pro. The funny thing about PlayStation 5 Pro is that that console is going to prolong Generation 9 that we're in right now with PlayStation 5. So you're not going to see PlayStation 6 until at least 2028 at the soonest. Maybe 2029, maybe even 2030. Because of the PlayStation 5 Pro prolonging the generation. Because Sony has chosen to do that, and because Xbox has chosen to make the Xbox Series S so anemic, guess what? Guess what's going to happen to Switch 2? It's going to have a long life, and it's going to get all the ports for at least 5 to 6 years. You see what I'm saying? So, like, PlayStation 5 Pro actually helps Nintendo, if you can believe it. Tom, let me answer your question. Does a system need to be that big with an 8-inch screen, or does this chip just need that much space? Remember, though, we showed that it has, in the leaks, it has 2 cooling fans. All right, Tom? So, and a copper heatsink. And it has to have room for the battery and everything like that. And, so I think this kind of stuff is gonna cause is what also assists the size of the console. But yes, the 8-inch screen is about almost like 2 inches bigger than the regular Switch. So I think that the exercise is needed. And let's be honest, the Switch 1 was not that portable in the first place. You couldn't really put it in your pocket very well at all. You had to put it in your backpack. So I don't think Nintendo is going to care too much about having a slightly bigger Switch 2, because you're still going to put it in your backpack. Okay, Brolin, which month in 2025 do you think Metroid Prime 4 is coming out? Metroid Prime 4 will either come out as a launch game for Switch 2, or they'll either push it to early fall of 2025. Early fall or summer of 2025 is my guess, and they'll launch like with the new Mario. So it depends on what Nintendo wants to do with their marketing. But if Metroid Prime 4 is a graphical like showcase type of game that they want to like push Switch 2 with, then I could easily see them having Metroid Prime 4 launch in the come out in the launch window of Switch 2. So maybe in the first 3 months, and then you buy a Switch 2 with Metroid Prime 4, or you buy Switch 2 with the Mario, with the hope of also getting Metroid Prime 4 a couple months later. That's a big 1-2 punch, and you would also sell a lot of people on Metroid Prime 4 for the capabilities of Switch 2 with that game. Tony Khan. If the Switch 2 had a 4K DLSS built in, you think an 8-inch screen would be presented in 1080p undocked? Yeah, we talked about that earlier. The rumor is that this would be a 1080p screen capability, so which also is fantastic for DLSS because it upscales to 1080p really well from 360p. Like ultra performance mode of DLSS in 1080p is like 360p, and it doesn't look that bad. It looks, more blurry and like more image instability, but it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as FSR 3 does. So yeah, great question. I do think that's an extremely high possibility. KNman00, do you think Nintendo name it the Switch Pro and claim it as part of the Switch 1 family? No. I think it's already been leaked that the actual name of the system is Switch 2. That's one thing we didn't talk about. There was information out there from these leaks indicated that in the factory production, it actually has the number 2 on the console in production. So I do think it's probably going to be called Switch 2. And this ain't no pro model. If it's doing this stuff, this is not a pro model, guys. Like no, it's just no. There's not a chance. I don't want to miss your questions here. Newhouse, do you think we'll get Metroid Prime 2 and 3 before the Switch 2 comes out? It's possible, or they will announce the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4. Basically, they could do that, and what they could do is they could announce that, and also then announce the Switch 1 and Switch 2 like ports of Metroid Prime 2 and 3, and maybe release a trilogy pack of Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 remastered for Switch 2 and Switch 1. They did the same thing with Pikmin. What was it? Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch? Ruben, what game do you think will be the big launch title? Yeah, either Mario or Metroid. Mario has been a gigantic holiday game for Nintendo, and I don't think Nintendo's not doing bad here, guys. They're doing pretty good with their sales. They could release Metroid Prime 4's launch game with Switch 2 and have it ride the hype of the new Switch console for Nintendo. At the same time, they can advertise Mario, the new 3D Mario for holiday of 2025, and then you'd already know you're getting the new Mario for holiday. Either way, it's a win-win for Nintendo. Switch 2 has blast processing. Yeah, it does. Literally does. Eric J. If the leaks are real, the size of the battery will be smaller than the one on the Steam Deck, so the clock speed could be very low, and it won't be as powerful as it could be. What do you think? Well, I think we'll have to wait and see. Battery life might be an issue, and with Switch 2, possibly. But again, we need to wait and see what the actual size of the chip is. If it is what I think it is, which would be 4 nanometers, then that would be better than Steam Deck. And if it is ampere based too, those things actually do pretty good on heat and power consumption. But yeah, you might be looking at a 3-hour battery life for Switch 2, which would not be very good. But again, we need to wait and see, and we need to wait and see how far down they clock it when it's not docked. But sky's the limit in terms of what they can clock it when it's docked, because that's the beauty of these chips, is that they're going to upclock really, really well, especially with the lower nanometer size. I'm not personally worried about it though. Battery life is important, but I think Nintendo will probably advertise it as a 3 to 5 hour battery life, is my guess. But when you play the most demanding games, it'll probably be like 3 hours, just like Switch 1 was. And then you'll have the Switch 2 revision, and the Switch 2 OLED. You have the Switch 2 better battery version. It's all part of the game to make more money for them. Chris Mueller, will Nintendo be the market leader this generation? Third-party does create more often than not. Yes, I do think so. I think Switch 2 is going to get almost all the games, guys. I have a really good feeling that they will. Bears, what's up, buddy? If some of the rumors are correct, did Nintendo go with 12 gigabytes RAM over 16 due to cost? Is there a big difference cost-wise? Yeah, well, you got to think about it. How much would it cost them to do 2 sticks of 8 gigabytes of LPDDR5X versus 12 gigabytes, 2 sticks, 6 for the same? It's going to be saving them some money. It may have came down to if they're going to have to charge you $450 versus $399, plus the storage issue as well. Having less storage all factors into the cost. All those things probably shaved off, like $10 here, $10 there, $10 there to make it $399 instead of $450. I'm saying that because obviously it's not confirmed what the price is. I'm sorry, I don't want to say like I'm confirming the price, but I can't see Nintendo pricing this over $399. So they get that cost down to $399 is my guess. I think that's what they have to do. But I don't see it as a performance problem, because Steam Deck and some of these other handhelds, they use 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5, not 5X. So 5X is 30% faster than LPDDR5. Okay. Welcome, Garrus, by the way. I'm not sure if I said welcome. What's up, Baron? Impra? EMP bra? I don't know how you say your name. I'm sorry. Switch will launch with new 3D Mario Kart 9, love Metroid. Not big enough to launch a new system. Like I was saying though, I don't think it matters per se necessarily in that sense, as long as they have a new Mario on the way and it's already been shown. It's going to ride the hype of the new console, and you could be looking at a 10 million selling Metroid Prime 4 because of that. So we'll have to wait and see. Mario Kart 9 though, you got to think that would be the second year of Switch 2, because you want to have the big punch for the second year of Switch 2. That's when I would think Mario Kart 9 would come out, would be the second year. Push that thing to, astronomical sales. I was talking about this, I think, on a podcast a few months ago, like Nintendo Prime. But I think 200 million would actually be possible for Switch 2 if it's this type of performance and they have all the new games. You would go to this system for everything. You wouldn't just go there just for Nintendo games. You would actually go there for all the games because you got it all in one package. You would actually sell a lot more consoles that way, and you could actually pass Switch 1 numbers with that. Tom, what is the main reason it takes so long for Switch 2 to be announced or released? I would say it's chip manufacturing, shortages, technology catching up with the Joneses, basically mobile technology, giving these companies time to make the chips. Obviously, NVIDIA has something planned here. This chip is likely going to be something that's not used in other devices, something that they could possibly use later and sell for other devices for their own purposes. I'm talking about NVIDIA. So yeah, it just, these things take time. Plus Nintendo obviously waiting as long as possible until they basically have no choice but to release Switch 2, and the sales have dropped enough. So I think they've waited so long that technology basically has caught up to the point where mobile devices can actually run these new games at decent enough settings. But hey, man, like I said, none of these portables have the ability to use DLSS because NVIDIA hasn't made any portable that uses NVIDIA graphics cards. So, like I said, this is a gigantic, huge positive step for Nintendo and for gaming with Switch 2 if all these leaks turn out to be correct. You're hoping for Mass Effect Legendary Edition for Switch 2? That could happen. Jiggly. I'll just call you Jiggly. I've had an M Classic for years and it doesn't support HDR. Does the 4K Gamer Pro support it though? I want to keep HDR on for Switch 2. I would hope that HDR is going to be confirmed for Switch 2. It's not confirmed yet. We'll have to wait and see, but that would be really dumb if it's not. I would say that you wouldn't need an M Classic anymore. Maybe. Depends. Because the M Classic actually, you guys may not know this, the M Classic that I've been using in my Switch videos to upscale, it actually uses its own GPU inside the cable to actually add more anti-aliasing and upscaling to the actual graphics. So with DLSS, you won't actually need to be using an M cable or M Classic for Switch 2 because the actual console will be able to upscale those graphics for you. I do think the 4K Gamer Pro is compatible with HDR. I believe. I think it's basically just it's a pass through that upscales the image and adds sharpening. Don't quote me on that though. You might have to look it up. Yeah, Bears. I talked about this earlier. I don't know if analog triggers are back. They don't appear like it from the Joy-Cons from the Switch 2. Let me show you guys real quick because we talked about this earlier. Yeah, this little thing right here. So yeah, I was talking about this little this thing right here. I thought that maybe that could be an analog nub, but from the looks of it, it looks like it might just be what you press in to to unlock the Joy-Cons from the console. But because the actual buttons on the back don't appear from at least this render that they have the ability to push all the way in. They look very similar to the Switch Pro controller, where you just press it in as a button. So if you want a good example of what an actual analog trigger looks like, it's the PlayStation. Here's the PlayStation. So you have all this movement here. See that? And for Switch, you just don't. It's just a button. So these do kind of look like buttons, but I can't confirm any of that stuff because we don't know for sure. These are just mock-up renders. We gotta wait and see, guys. But maybe for their Switch 2 Pro controller that hasn't been announced yet, they'll have analog triggers. It's just speculation though, guys. I don't know. Everyone assumes, the chat was telling me this, and I kind of agree that this looks like a button you press in to unhook the Joy-Con from the console, not necessarily a button to use during gameplay. When I first started the stream, I was saying hey, maybe this is a trigger to use for analog, an analog button, but it may not be. We don't know. We have to wait and see. I'm excited to find out though. I'm excited to find out what all this does. I think that would be cool, right? What are you guys saying here? Yeah, the magnetic suction, exactly. We talked about that. Baron, I 100% believe Switch. What do you say? 100% believe the Switch 2 cross-gen launch title will be Pokemon Legends ZA. That's the reason we still have not seen the game yet. Oh. I don't disagree. We'll have to wait and see. Perplexed as to why Nintendo went away from them. Yeah, Bears. I don't know, man. They're really useful in GameCube games, at least. They did some pretty cool uses of them. Bry, will the Pro Controller be likely to have analog? Yeah, that's what I hope so. I hope they do, buddy. All right. All right. We're all caught up on questions. Somebody asked earlier when I think the release date will be for Switch 2. So I think, let's see, based on the leaks and everything that we're seeing already, I think we could be looking, just like what the rumors have said. Basically, the first big release of Nintendo's Q1 of 2020, their fiscal year 2026, which would be April 1st of 2025. We could be seeing Switch 2 released in April of 2025. There's that popular analyst. His name is David Gibson. He thinks the Switch still could release by March 2025, but I do think we'll be seeing it in the first half of 2025 at this point. We had this huge leak. I just don't see why. I don't see how Nintendo could not show it at this point. It's already in production. It's time to show the console, Nintendo. Welcome, Olivia Maxwell. You just coming in? I haven't seen you till now. Do you think Nintendo will have a Switch 2 Lite? Probably. I also think they'll likely have a Switch 2 Home variant as well, meaning like just like the tablet without a screen, just like a slim little console you plug in for cheaper. I could definitely see them going that route too. I can see them doing both. Tom, could the design from the leak be an older version and the final system looks different? Yes, that is possible, but I don't think it'll look that much different based on this. And the reason what you would probably see different is like if anything, what you would see. Let's go back. If anything here, what you would see them change is texture and color, right? So probably you would get like either a white, maybe like a white Switch 2 or like a silver Switch 2, like platinum, like GameCube, or maybe a full like jet black Switch 2. I don't think this is by any means like what the color of the Switch 2 could be. Like maybe it is, but like it's just not. The rumor is that these are not final. It's based on like maybe an older version, but likely these are this is what it's going to look like. But no doubt, there's no doubt in my mind they'll have different colors, right? So you could have a jet black, you could have a red, you could have a magenta, you could have silver like this basically. You could have a pure white version as well, kind of like what they did with the Wii U. I think those are good ideas. Everyone has their preferences, but I don't think this is necessarily like the final look of the console either. They could have slight little changes, but overall, I think this is probably going to be pretty close. Kian Man. New consoles usually go for drastic new design or form factor, not dwelling on the Switch Pro thing, but why is the form factor basically the same? Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There was somebody who was tweeting about that. That very thing you just said, buddy. So, like, let me show you. So this guy named Tommy on Twitter, he was saying that this like made the rounds, got like a lot of attention. This isn't the Nintendo I knew, the Nintendo I love, the Nintendo that put creativity and soul before profit. And there's nothing wrong with there's nothing really wrong with this tweet though, honestly. Like, you're technically right, it's kind of a cop-out, you would say. Like, they're just repeating the same thing again. But my response to that is like, what I said, the Switch 2 looks like to follow the SNES and GameCube idea. Both were sequel consoles, nicely more powerful, with less innovation besides adding more buttons like the SNES, having dual analog like GameCube. Switch 1 is too big a success for Switch 2 not to follow with a sequel iteration, and I'm all for it. So, yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. Plus, the selling factor of the Switch 2 is going to be that it's going to get all the games, and likely Nintendo will have some type of quirky little innovation here, but it's not going to be something that makes you change your entire way of playing. It's going to be pretty much the same type of thing. As you could tell, they might have some type of little like microphone innovation here, or some type of something that it does with audio, 3D audio maybe. You never know with Nintendo, but I don't think it's going to be changing the guard like the Wii did or the DS. Definitely not the Wii U. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing something totally different, but we're still going to call it the Wii, like, no. Switch is selling over 150 million consoles. We already know that. It's on its way to do that. They would be kind of stupid not to do a sequel console with better technology that actually fulfills the dream of the Switch to the fullest extent, because the Switch 1 actually did not do that. From day one, it was missing third-party ports from day one back in 2017. Switch 2 looks like it's going to complete the cycle of what the Switch dream actually is. Get all the games day and date, get all the ports, have online, have all the good stuff that we all wanted, and do it well. So like, Switch 1 was like proof of concept. Like, here it is, we're trying it out, we'll see if it works. Everyone was like, yeah, this is great. But then like after like 4 years, people started moving on to other things more and more because the system was just so outdated so quickly. Now they have the opportunity to make something that will not be outdated quick. And yes, it's going to cost more money, but you're going to be getting something that lasts even longer possibly, and give you a lot more enjoyment from it and be backwards compatible. I don't see anything but positivity and an amazing outlook and future for the Switch 2 here, and I think it's the necessary call to make it a iteration and not a brand new, completely different console. If it broke, don't fix it. Yeah, that's right, buddy. What could the new button above the capture button be for? Could this be an unexpected new feature? Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Let's see. New button here. We get the console showing all the front. Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. It could be simply something like contact your friends. It could be like a microphone button. I don't know. I really don't know, man. Like maybe you hold that button down and you're able to speak online, you know, like we speak. Remember that? Knowing Nintendo, it would be something with audio, or you blow into the mic and like, you know, you make Mario fly longer or something like that. Thanks, Brian, for the $10 super chat. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you very much. I forgot I can heart these things now. Sorry to the other guy who super chatted. I didn't give you a heart. I heart you. Let's see. Ooh, good question. Good question. That is a good question, Timothy. Oof. You would think so. Grand Theft Auto 6. That is a good question. You would think that they would find a way, right? The old saying, he found a way. You would think that they would find a way to get oops, sorry. You would think that they would find a way to get Grand Theft Auto 6 running on Switch 2. Now, I think the answer would be yes. And the reason I say that is because I'm just putting it up here to look at. The reason is because now chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Grand Theft Auto 6 confirmed to be coming to Xbox Series S? Because if it is, then I would say that Grand Theft Auto 6 would come to Switch 2. Anything that comes to Xbox Series S, I would say you can almost guarantee it's coming to Switch 2 as well. Now, unless they haven't announced any consoles yet for Grand Theft Auto 6, then I can't really answer that question. If someone can look it up for me, if the platforms are confirmed, if they're confirmed to be coming, if it's confirmed to be coming to Xbox Series S, then I would say yeah. Maybe a mute button. Yeah, maybe. That's funny. Let's see. The Hey-Man. I think that Elden Ring will be shown in the reveal trailer as Skyrim was shown with Switch 1. Maybe. I mean, Elden Ring is From Software and Skyrim is Bethesda, but I could see that. I think Elden Ring wouldn't have any problem at all running on Switch 2. Rockstar has the money and resources to support. Yeah, they do. I'm just curious if it's already been confirmed on for Xbox Series S. Okay, chat, you're saying yes? Then yeah. If it's coming to the S, guys, anything that comes to the S, I would say it's near to be a lock to come to Switch 2. It only depends on Rockstar's choices. If they don't see it's worth porting to the Switch 2, like the audience isn't there, then that would be their choice. But I would say it's easy money. And they've already what? They sold the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, right? And San Andreas and those old games on Switch 1. It was Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas came to Switch 1, right? So if they already did that, then I don't understand why they wouldn't bring out a port of Grand Theft Auto 5 and 6 on Switch 2. Digital Foundry analysis: GTA 6 was running at 1440p upscaled to 4K at 30 frames per second. Usually unveil their games running on console. Yeah. Again, though, guess which consoles don't have DLSS? PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PlayStation 5 Pro. They all don't have DLSS. That is literally going to be a great benefit for Switch 2. DLSS is going to allow them to get a lot more ports because developers are going to be able to run their games at lower settings and lower resolutions that will actually look better than their Xbox Series S counterparts without you even realizing it, because DLSS is that much better. Taurus Bog, yeah, exactly. Great song. Yeah, Metroid Prime, you guys know this. Metroid Prime is my favorite game of all time, but Metroid Prime 2 is like right up there as well. Like the music in that game is fantastic. 1GWA, you hate tapping on phones? Yeah, I know, it's terrible. Hey, welcome, Aaron Rass. You're just coming to the end of the stream here. I'm about to get going soon. I'm answering you guys' questions. You guys have any more questions for me before I get going? It's been a fantastic stream so far. Did we get over 200 likes yet? Oh, we did. All right. Thank you very much for the engagement, guys. Yeah. You don't see GTA 6 coming to Switch 2. Why is that? They just released Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas on Switch 1. I don't think they released Grand Theft Auto 5 on Switch 1 because of the limitations the console has, the CPU limitations and the RAM. I know they released it on Xbox 360 and PS3, but in some ways the Switch has some limitations that don't work very well for open world games. That might be why they decided just to skip it. Yep. Red Dead Redemption 1 on Switch. Yeah, like I said, anything that these developers can get running on a blockbuster selling console like Switch, they're gonna try to do it. But a lot of these games just don't run well, and they can't just get them. They can't just throw something out there and have it not sell. These games take a lot of effort and a lot of money. Support. That's another thing about Switch 2 is that the cost is going to come down to port these games because the system's going to be, substantially more powerful, substantially more performant than Switch 1. Games will run a lot better. Porting will be a lot easier. More common, languages with APIs that they're going to be using to port these games over. DLSS is going to make things a lot better, more performant, easier. It's just going to be so much better for developers, and it looks like developers are really happy already with Switch 2 from what we're hearing. Tony Khan. Final question. If Nintendo were to do a live stream presentation on Switch 2, do you think Koizumi will be introducing the Nintendo, Nvidia, Samsung's new system? Probably. Why not? By the way, as soon as Nintendo announces, I want to tell you guys right now, as soon as Nintendo announces the presentation event for Switch 2, like, hey, stay tuned for the reveal of Nintendo's next generation platform. As soon as they do that, I'm going to be announcing my live reaction to it. So, like, as long as they give us a heads up, I'll be able to live stream my react to it. If they if they just randomly drop it, I won't be able to. Nintendo really needs to announce the reveal of Switch 2 ahead of time, so we can prepare to get all our selves ready for the reveal of it. We'll do it live. I'll start streaming an hour earlier. We'll talk about it and we'll have a live react to it. Very exciting. Stu Gatz, you want a summary? Are we good with specs? Yeah, we're good with specs, buddy. I highly suggest you rewatch this stream though, because you missed something really, really important that I did a live demonstration of Final Fantasy 16 of how it could look on Switch 2, because it's already been confirmed. It's already running on ROG Ally, Steam Deck, and Legion Go. I think you'll be really interested to see that part of the stream. Garrus, your main concern will with the known specs was the RAM. Now we know it'll be LPDDR5. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think anybody can be upset with 12 gigabytes of LPDDR5X. That is like the best they can do, unless they went for 16 gigabytes. How much do you want to spend on this console, guys? Do you want to spend $600? Do you want to spend $700? If so, then they would be putting in an M.2 SSD in there with 1 terabyte. They'll be putting in, or 512 gigabytes. They'll be putting in 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X. They would be using something maybe like they'll be maybe having an OLED screen. Like all these things add to the cost. So if you want to save money or get the cost down to something more mass marketable like $399, that's where Nintendo's going to cut the most costs. It's going to be in the storage, like they're doing. It's going to be some of it in the RAM, but they're still going to have just enough. 12 gigabytes is very respectable. It's very good, actually. And it's going to be fast, very fast, which is fantastic. And they're going to be using something customized, but slightly older, but not old, not too old, in what looks to be a customized Ampere-based RTX 3000 series, SoC from NVIDIA with DLSS, with the ability to use frame generation from AMD, because that's one good thing AMD did, is allow for frame generation to be used in conjunction with other technologies from other GPUs like NVIDIA. So Nintendo didn't actually have to purchase a Lovelace-based SoC from NVIDIA. They actually saved some money there, so you can thank AMD for that. Thank you, AMD, for providing frame generation for free for all GPUs, because now Nintendo doesn't even have to worry about Lovelace. Hey, everyone wins. And frame generation is not that bad either. It actually works pretty decently for FSR3. And they've improved the input lag quite a bit. Like, I played Black Myth Wukong live on this channel with frame generation on, by the way, at max settings at 4K DLSS just a few weeks ago here live on the channel. And there's almost no input lag whatsoever, even with frame generation on. NVIDIA also, by the way, has better latency than AMD does. They have NVIDIA Reflex. That is actually a little bit better than AMD's version. So like, you combine all these things that Nintendo is doing with these technologies, like basically like waiting it out, kind of like to see like where the chips fall with all these companies. Oh, well, wait a second. So AMD just announced they're doing frame generation and it's going to work on NVIDIA too. Why don't we just wait for that to release, and then we can implement frame generation without actually having to purchase the more expensive Lovelace-based GPU. And then, oh wait, like how about let's also shrink down the node to be the same size as Lovelace, but actually have it be Ampere-based. So you can kind of see like possibly where the mindset of Nintendo has been going the last few years, kind of waiting it out and seeing like which way these companies are gonna put their products, and we can kind of see like where possibly it's looking like they're going to, which is a benefit to us. Yeah, so 8 nanometers would not. It's really hard to explain, Bri, why 8 nanometers is such a bad idea. Because it's hard to explain on stream. Like, we have to like go through like a bunch of like information and like chip manufacturing and like power consumption levels, size levels. But like, basically like 8 nanometers for the type of chip Nintendo was using with NVIDIA here, it would not allow them. It would not allow them to use all the entire power of the chip. Basically, it's hard to give you an example. It's kind of like driving one of these cars in the Matrix demo here. So like you want, if you put like a smaller engine into a gigantic car, you're not going to be able to. You're not going to get much performance out of that. Using that, you need to have a smaller car to get better performance, because the engine of it is just not going to, be able to power that big of a shell to hold it. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where you need to have a smaller chip to get more performance out of it. And it works that way with chips. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to get more clock speeds out. You have to have a smaller chip because it has less heat. The bigger the chip, the more heat, right? The more heat, the worse it is for Nintendo. So guess what Nintendo will have to do then? If it's 8 nanometers, they have to continue to downclock it, and downclock it, and downclock it, and downclock it until finally it has just enough, low heat that they can use it in a portable system, which makes using that chip absolutely irrelevant and worthless. There'd be no reason to use that chip at that point because you've just neutered it so far that you took all the performance out of it, which is why everyone online, the quote-unquote experts, like the guys who run these tech sites like Digital Foundry, all agree that using a 4 nanometer chip would be the way to go because there would be no reason to use 8 nanometers because you wouldn't be able to get the power levels you want. You wouldn't be able to use the chip to its full degree because it would output way too much heat and power consumption if you use it as full degree. Yes, you could do it while docked, but then you would absolutely destroy the console's performance in portable mode, which would make it useless. So it just wouldn't work. So basically, if it's the same chip that they're talking about and it's 8 nanometers, you would pretty much cut the performance in half at that point. You would probably have about 1 teraflop in portable mode and about 2 teraflops docked, and you would make it extremely difficult to get newer games to run very well. Plus, you would basically just negate the whole purpose of why you would even use that chip in the first place. Nintendo would just use something else at that point because you're leaving a lot of power and performance on the table. Let's see, in the last, what was it? In the other Switch 2 video I did, I talked about how, yeah, it's pretty much they're 12 SMs, which would be like something like, what was it? 1,500 CUDA cores or something like that. You'd have to downclock all those CUDA cores. It would be worthless. It would be like the same as using like 1,000 CUDA cores instead of 1,500 because you wouldn't be using the clock speeds necessary to get performance out of those CUDA cores. So I hope that makes sense of why 8 nanometers would be so stupid to use. You'd be like, yeah, we got this really cool chip. Oh, but we can't really use it to its full degree because it's using too much power consumption. We got to downclock it way low. And there's your Switch 2. It'd be a total waste of money by Nintendo. And you're right though. This sounds like something Nintendo would do, but it doesn't really sound like something Nvidia would do or offer Nintendo. So like the 8 nanometer thing was something that was talked about in 2021. That'll be about 4 years from when that first was talked about, 8 nanometers. So like it's possible that they did some tests with 8 nanometers, but also like you got to remember too, Ampere was using 8 nanometers on their laptops. The RTX 3050 and RTX 3050 Ti was 8 nanometers Ampere for laptops. They were not hitting low enough frequencies to be used as a dedicated portable device. They were like in the 30 watt range basically and up. So like, yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't seem realistic for Nintendo to go with 8 nanometers because of that. You're leaving all that performance on the table, and you just won't have a very good portable machine at that point. Samsung with 4 nanometers with the same type of technology, that's a win. Like it to be TSMC 4N, 5 nanometers. Yeah, 5 nanometers is basically almost the same type of performance as Samsung's 4 nanometers. So either way, they would get similar performance. Tom, why hasn't PlayStation made a PS5 handheld? We are the point it's possible. They are not afraid. Yeah, I mean, there's been rumors of them doing the handheld for like the last 8 years. So it's up to them. They can They can release one, I guess, if they want to. Depends on if they want to dip their feet in that. Bears Goomba, sounds good to me. All the rumors I've heard says 8 nanometers, unless there's others different. Well, you know what it was? The rumor, Bears, that came from that Moore's Law is dead guy. And they even admitted in the last like 6 months that they're not sure if 8 nanometers is really true or not, because they kind of admitted that they just didn't know. Like their information was based on like stuff that was like back in like 2022 or something like that. So like I would not believe that rumor at this point about that chip size. It's just because so much time has passed. Again, though, I'm not saying they're not. We can't confirm anything here, guys. The hope is that they're going to be using 4 nanometers. We cannot confirm that here. We cannot confirm anything here. All we can do is speculate on the information available. And I can explain why it would not make any sense to use 8 nanometers, because you would not be using the power that you'll not be using the performance of the chip that's possible that you purchased if you're Nintendo, if you did that. So that's why I say we need to wait and see. I would say 4 nanometer Samsung, that's the one that's in mass production right now by Samsung. The most is the 4 nanometer version, not for Nvidia, just for their chips in general. So 4 nanometer is the hot, fabrication right now for people to use. So I would say it's a really good chance that they would be using 4 nanometers. Again, keep your expectations a little bit in check about that. Either way, though, I think we're going to be getting a good Switch 2 that has good performance, and I don't think we're going to be disappointed by what it does, even if the numbers are slightly lower than what possibly we're expecting. If it's 3.5 teraflops docked or 3 teraflops docked, it could still be decent enough, but we do hope for at least 4 teraflops docked, 2 teraflops portable. Others have said the same thing as well, that expectations seem to be online, at least from rumors and leaks and everything, that it seems to be 2 teraflops portable and 4 teraflops docked, which would support something that is actually 4 nanometers and not 8 nanometers. That would allow them to get the clock speeds necessary to get that high for their performance. That's the best I can do to explain it. You can't decide Switch to be 400 or 450. If Nintendo is not stupid, they'll release it for $399. Any update on Metroid Prime 2 and 3? John Shepard asked. No, not yet, but we hope it's soon. Remember to tag me in the chat for questions. Otherwise, I'm going to miss your questions, guys. I can see some of them, but yeah, I know I missed some. All right, can we get to 250 likes on the stream? That would be really great if we can do that, guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Someone asked about colors, right? Yeah, I think there was a rumor that it would come in 2 different SKUs. I thought at first that person was talking about possibly 2 different SKUs, as in 2 different price points, which would be like the Wii U with the white and the black versions, like the low storage and the higher storage. I hope they don't do that. I hope it's just like a 2-colored SKU, because you have too much confusion if you start selling 2 different SKUs. Then the one SKU sells out too fast, and all you have left is the worst SKU with the low storage. You know what I mean? I don't want them to have something like that. Just make one console, have two different colors if you want, whatever, but don't segregate the consoles and have them be like one with like 128 gigabytes and one with 256 or something like that. Don't do that. Just have like one console to sell at first, one like type of it. Different colors are fine though. Fastline Gaming, I'm doing good, buddy. Thanks for coming. What developer besides first-party studios would get the most out of Switch 2? What developer? I would say, oh, you mean get the most technological-wise? I was gonna say Square Enix, but they're not that great, honestly. They don't optimize their games very well. I don't know. Because for Switch 1, a lot of these games that have got the most out of the console have been these porting studios like Panic Button, some of these other studios that they're not like the actual companies that make the games. They've done a lot of porting. There you go, Capcom. Good one. Resident Evil 4 Remake, I would say, is likely, very likely going to be ported to Switch 2 and probably will look really, really good. I think Capcom will probably take the most advantage of it. I think you're right about that one. Yeah, the next Xenoblade Chronicles, there is a rumor out there that Xenoblade Chronicles X could be ported to Switch 2. Grain of salt though, because Xenoblade Chronicles X was rumored to be ported to Switch 1 before the console even came out. I remember seeing rumors of that game for Switch 1 in 2016, and it never even it never showed up. So don't hold your breath for Xenoblade Chronicles X for a Switch 2 port, but there is a rumor out there that it could be ported. Dwayne Davis, I do get a question about Switch 2. How good is the GPU? Yeah, we talked about that, buddy, at length. Just go back in the stream a little bit. You'll see me talking all about that. I don't want to repeat everything over and over again in the stream. I'm sorry, but I think it's going to be really good, though. Basically, not PS5 good, but in relation to what's going on right now in technology, I think it has the potential to be the best new portable out there to run all the latest games. Midori said that the Xenoblade Chronicles Switch enhanced version of Switch 2. Yeah, if that was ever true, there's usually a shred of truth in these rumors. I mean, they probably did have plans to release that for Switch 1, but they may hold off. They may just release it for Switch 2. They may not release anything. Depends. We don't know. One of the things I hate about the Switch generation is all the weebs it spawned. Oh boy. Well, it's not me. I'm not part of that. I'm not part of that group. I do my own thing. Biggest limiting factor for studios is the RAM, so having 12 gigabytes is really good. Yeah, I agree about that. There are a lot of big Japanese developers left that might get to shine on Switch 2. Konami, Bandai Namco, and Sega will probably all give a chance. Oh, definitely. Obviously, like Ubisoft will always have their launch game ready for it. They'll probably have something. They always do. Remember being here for the lead up to the Switch V. Yeah, I mean, maybe you were named something else back then. I don't remember you, buddy. But you could have had a different username at that time. Yeah, it's gonna be here before we know it, guys. Like seriously, it's gonna be here really soon. Yeah, like that's the thing about the Switch is that there's a lot of garbage games on the console. I mean, let's be honest. Like you go to the eShop, like you guys are talking about, there's a lot of garbage there. Like I'm talking like zero effort, made by one guy, just released out there, guy trying to, hit the jackpot, get lucky with some game. A lot of trash on the eShop. So like that's what happens with these consoles that are ultra successful. The Wii was a big example of that too. Lots of shovelware and terrible games on that console as well. Lots of people want to cash in on and ride the wave and try to make their buck. So yeah, you're gonna get a lot of trash games on this Switch, and you're gonna get a lot of trash games on Switch too. You just gotta be smart and just do your research on what games look appealing to you. You also got to watch out for reviews of games as well. Who do you trust for reviews? No doubt when I start doing Switch 2 content for when the system comes out, you're going to be seeing some reviews from me. The type of content I do might change a little bit because we're going to have so much to talk about for the new system. I might expand the type of content I do to be more, to have different types of, like maybe first impressions, reviews, features of the system, certain things I find out about the system that I want to share with you, stuff like that. I might start covering more rumors too, like on what games are coming, things like that. Whenever you get a new console that comes out, there's always something that, it's going to change how people approach how to cover games on the system. A lot of the Switch 1 stuff I never covered because I was never interested in it. Because it just wasn't interesting to me. Like I'm not going to go cover some indie game that I'm not interested in. And Switch has a ton of indie games. So, and I've been approached by so many people trying to get me to review their games too. I just had to decline because I don't have time and I'm just not interested in it. Yeah, lots of bulk and fluff in the stores. Hmon, I just want the social friend features of previous consoles. Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. But good news is we do have Discord these days. A lot of people just use Discord. There are Discord apps now that work on PS5 and Xbox, I believe, right? So, have I played Outlaws? I have not. Because it doesn't look like it's worth even trying. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but from everything I've seen about it, all the footage I've seen, it looks like yet another Ubisoft. Say it with me. You know this phrase when it comes to Ubisoft, right? It's one of those jack of all trades, master of none. Jack of all trades, master of none equals Ubisoft. That is a Ubisoft type of game. So I'm not going to even try the game, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not saying the game's bad, though. I haven't played it, but I'm not the one to ask about that particular game just because I know Ubisoft, guys. I really do. And I just had no interest to buy it and no interest to try it. Oh, you're about to ask if I have a Discord? I do. I'm on Discord, but I don't have one. I don't have one open for my channel. It's too much to manage, and there's no reason for me to have one of those necessarily. Just because I don't know. I never was interested in starting a Discord server. I guess it would be nice for you guys to get to know each other, but like. It's really about you want to get to know the person who's running the channel, right? To interact with them, and I just wouldn't have time. So this would be our time to interact with each other now on live streams. I do live stream quite a bit, quite often. So if you like, I don't do live streams like this very often. This is like special, but like I do like to play games. If you look at my live stream playlist, I just played Terrapang 2. High action first person shooter. Then I played Black Myth Wukong. I played the entire Mass Effect 1. I played the entire game of that recently. So yeah, if you like sci-fi games, you like high action games, I like to play those types of games. So I also do have a retro itch as well. I do have plenty of retro games I played on this channel as well. I played Perfect Dark, N64. I played Donkey Kong Country, Final Fight, Ninja Turtles, all those old games too. I like to play those as well. So if you like all that stuff, be sure you're subscribed. Check me out on other live streams as well. But yeah, guys, you know what? It's been 2.5 hours. I really got to actually get going. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for coming out. I really want to thank you very, very much for all your support on the channel. Olivia, you wanted me to do Mass Effect 2? I might. You might have to wait a little bit, though. Mass Effect 2 is a fantastic game, but it's a lot longer game than Mass Effect 1. But yeah. You just joined. Yeah, sorry, man. I've been going for 2.5 hours. But yeah, thank you guys for coming out to the stream. Please hit the like button for me on your way out. Leave me a comment afterwards if you didn't get your question asked. I'll try to answer your question. But yeah, thank you very much. I'll do another live stream once Nintendo announces Switch 2 and before they do pre-orders. We'll do another live stream and I'll give you some hints on how you can pre-order your very own Switch 2. I do have some tricks of the trade that worked with PS5. So we'll see what we can do to try to help you out there to get a Switch 2. And then we'll be able to pre-order it, okay? So guys, thank you very much. And I'll see you very soon. Take care.